Welcome back and good morning once again. If you are just joining us, this is still Daybreak Africa. Well, today we'll be talking about the Labour Union recent protest, nationwide protest. And with that, we'll be discussing this with a political analyst we have in the house, whose name is GBENGA AJISAFE. Good morning and welcome to Daybreak Africa.
Good morning, Fatima.
Very good morning to you.
Good morning, it's okay.
How are you doing today?
I'm fine.
All right. We have a lot of things going on in Nigeria right now, especially last week. It was very eventful.
Absolutely.
But right now, before we even go into the discourse of today, I want to ask a question. Most Nigerians right now believe that the hardship they are facing is as a result of an implementation of policy that were not properly carried out by the present administration. That is what most of them believe. Now, I want to ask you, as a political analyst, do you feel the same, or it's an improper implementation of policies by the former administration?
Yeah, thank you very much. I want to believe that if the former administration have done something wrongs, it is the necessity has it that the present administration should correct it. Because we call it former, so somebody who is not acting anymore. His policy can always be changed. So in that wise, I think the present administration ought to have taken by the bold step and try to correct every abnormal activities that can affect such things or arise such things in their own administration. That's just the mark of all things.
Okay, well, let's now looking at it from the part of the Labour Congress majorly, because before they embarked on the protest, they gave the government 7 days ultimatum before they actually embarked on that protest. So now, would you say the government doesn't pay keynote to the demands of this Labour Congress before they went after? Because you could say that merely after the protest went through, they had a resolve. They talked about, even though we are yet to know what they came to an agreement on. So how do you see this? Do you think the government is not taking them seriously enough until they embark on these actions, if they could actually be avoided?
No, the government is not. I want to believe that the first day the president came on city, he mentioned the subsidy removal of that is on May 29, and after that, there's no proper planning. After he declaring such things, he have no consultation. Neither did he consult these labor parties. I mean, the labor leaders, about the issues about what is intent doing. So because of that, you cannot drive a vehicle without checking in how the vehicle look like. What is it? Maybe you have fuel or oil, or there's no water. So all these things are things that the present government ought to have done. Call the labor leaders and ask them, how do we intend doing this, and what will be the way forward before coming to this crisis we find ourselves.
Now, you made mention earlier that if the previous administration had done something that are not very fine for the economy and the whole nation, the present administration is supposed to come in to correct them.
Yeah.
Now, we understand a lot of damages, and there are kind of damages that might possibly take time. Now, the first subsidy removal, most people believe that yes, is a thing that must go, because subsidy must go so that we'll be able to use our resources well. These are the promises that the present administration made to the general masses. Now, my question is this: do you think what they have started doing right now is a way of trying to correct things, or is a way of them having zeal to do something, but the right way to follow it is not being put in place?
Yes, this is the approach. That is it. The approach of carrying it out is the wrong area. I think they took. Is normally we intend to stop subsidies. We have been on since 1999. Obasanjo, Dua areas, Jonathan's. These are people that are clamoring that removals of subsidy should not be in place. Even Buhari said the same things, but we all know how it's going to look like when we remove subsidy from the economies. You cannot increase fuel from 200 naira, from 194 naira to 600 and something naira. So these are areas that the government should look into. The effect, the aftermath of effect of removing subsidy, what we come in place. These are areas that they ought to have look in place and try to correct the areas that the effect should be corrected. I think that is the area they've got it wrong.
Well, let's now take a look at the demands of the Labour Congress per se, because out of their demands is that majorly is for the administration to reverse all the anti-poor policies that have been put in place. We have the increase in the price pump, removal of subsidy on education, and so much more. So do you agree that these their demands are something that the government can actually work on? Is it feasible?
Of course, it's feasible. Nigeria is rich and is blessed.
Okay. But at this point, with the fact that the government has come to say the removal of the money they realize from the subsidy is something they're going to use to help Nigerians, it to be reversed to be put into better use. So do you not agree that what the NLC is now looking out for, asking the government to reverse everything and put them back in place? Because they said the same subsidy is only making some people richer than the others. So removing it has been, according to what some people have said, they said it is the best solution at this point. So what do you say about that?
Oh, I want to come in this angle that when we say subsidy removal, now we have money that are being set aside to be given to some set of marketers. Up to today, we have some claims on quarters that even the subsidy are claiming to be paying is not being given to those marketers. So those are that is a case on its own. Now we are talking about the subsidy money they are giving to those marketers. They want to be using it to cushion the effect of the people. They want to be using it for the poor, because you subsidize so that the poor can feel the impact of the government towards subsidizing it. For now, you want to remove the subsidies and use the money for what? If you want to use the money for the good peoples, for the good policies, policy that you intend to give out to the people, the first thing is to engage those people. That is communication, lack of communication. Engage those people. Call the Labour Party, call the TUC. Ask them, look, there's so many trillions that we are giving out to these people. We want to bring it back to the major economic so that you people can benefit it directly. So let them be part of the decision making. The moment they are part of it, they are talking about 300,000 naira increment, because the fact, if you are increasing everything, you are removing those trillions. Where is the trillion going to? Are you going to put it into sectors? Which sectors are you putting into? Are you putting into health sectors? Are you putting into road sectors? Let's see how are those effects, the cushion of effect, the cushion of the subsidies, how effective is it meant for the poor Nigerians? Those are the areas that the government should have been able to deal with before removing the subsidy.
Okay, you made mention something earlier that Nigeria is a very blessed country.
Of course.
We are rich. Of course, I want to believe that too, but this is a country that has been surviving on debt upon debt taken from the World Bank and the rest just to survive. And at the end of the day, what we really realize, be able to generate is almost giving us nothing back. Our GDP is not really something to write home about. And this has been a big problem in our economy. Now, if you say hardship in Nigeria right now, most people will just point their hand straight to the subsidy remover. They don't even want to hear anything. That is what has caused the problem. But let's face it here. We have had issues of a lot of things when it comes to our economy, being epileptic. We have epileptic power supply. We have our roads not really going where the infrastructures, and we have the production of our goods and services have not really been good, because if you agree with me, we have been a consuming nation. Now, Nigeria always putting all their accusation against the subsidy remover. Do you share this as the problem of Nigeria right now, or what else do you think Nigeria needs to fix to put Nigeria in the kind of space that everybody will feel okay?
Yes, the first thing is the present government should look into political economics. Yeah, they should look that direction. You will be acting on not getting it in terms of political economics. We Africans, as a Nigerians, we're able to see beyond what we have. We are blessed with so many resources. We are blessed with talent, human capacity. What we need is a good direction. How do we manage our economy? Okay. Yeah, we have resources here. We have bitumen here in Ondo. We have not been tapping it. We have not been using it. We have seaports that the Republic of Togo are using to make money. And look. So these are areas that we first check ourselves. What do we have? This is what we have to give to the world. The moment we discover that, we now look for how do we access better use of these things. And from that areas, the leaders need to see area that we have potentials that we can benefit from. If we've not gotten that area right, our political economics is too poor. We have raw materials. We have cocoa, raw materials. We have rubber, raw materials. We are the only areas we have is finishing product, the finishing aspect of all this product. How do we finish it? We have crude oil here in Nigeria. How do we bring out our crude oil? We take it to London's to go and refine. So these are areas that if our government are sincere, are able to think in that direction and see the political economics of these countries, how do we fight making sure our crude oil became what we produce here locally? It will create jobs. This subsidy of 18, the subsidy of 18 will not have come in place in the first place. We will not be subsidizing money because we make it locally. So these are areas that we channels all those money to. That's why I was surprised when the president was saying everything. He was saying about 42 key points about his agenda, about his policies out, but he never mentioned about our refinery. It took him about 2 days before he took to come up and say we are refining the 3 refineries we have in Nigeria. I was surprised because that was the first thing I was thinking that we do. We have crude. Those are political economics. Those are areas that we need to be challenged our mind to. How do we assess what we have and doing to the finishing product for people to be buying it outside the countries? These are areas that the government, those leaders should be able to be looking into. We have cocoa that do we need to import thousands of cocoa to outside Africa, outside Nigeria before we start making money? We can do the finishing product, yes, bring out the company, the experts to do it and send it outside. We create more job. These are things that the Chinese are doing. So we have our own qualities. We cannot be just opposing what other people don't have. We have what we have here. We have palm oil. We have these are things that we can make use of here and be rich. That's why we are rich in everything.
Now you said something about the political economics and the rest, and being able to use what we have to be able to generate them, then turn them to finished goods in our own country to be able to boost our economy. Now, I believe those things need money, of course. They need fund for us to carry and a very good calculative mindset with proper planning for all these things to come together. But looking at the demands of the TUC and the NLC, the Lagos chapter asks for 30,000 naira palliative for 6 months. Talking about all these things, will all these, and also there's a proposed 200,000 naira minimum wage for Nigerians. All these things put together, are in the listening of most Nigerians, they will be like, okay, it's a good one. But you, as a person that understands economics and also a political analyst, do you think it's what we need right now in Nigeria?
200,000 is just a peanut. Somebody will be telling you want to give you 200,000 naira, you jump up and you're glad that you're having it. We are still going back to the decade age that we have been before now. The government should be able to see how education should be free. If not free, make it to the level that the commoners can able to access it. That is the government we want. We don't want government that will be telling us that we give a parent of 200,000 naira and the parent cannot afford to send his children to a best schools. You want that children, maybe your child want to go to a medical school, a medical class, being a doctors or a lawyers, and you don't have enough money to send such child to that schools. Do you say 200,000 is enough for that parent, a parent of a family of 5? So these are areas that people should not just jump up because they want to give us 200,000 and people are happy because you don't know what areas you are going to spend such money into before you start buying food and taking care of your health bill. How much is 200,000 to that effect, to that economical effect of that? So these are areas that the government should tell the NSA, the TUC, look, we are using this money, 200,000 that we are giving you for a start, and all this money again, we are going to be putting it back to health sector, that you are going to be having free health sector for your families. The commoners will have good health sector. Your education, your children will be catered for from the primary school to the tertiary education. These are areas these are plans that the government should be able to table to the TUC and the Nigerian Labour Congress. These are areas that the people masses will fit in to the policy of this government.
Also, you still mentioned on the aspect of education, where you mentioned it should be free. The federal government itself has come out to say in unity schools and federal-owned tertiary institutions that tuition is free. but yet we still have institutions that have already inflated the prices of school fees in their universities. And yet we have, is it that, do we say the government does not have a good grip on these particular sectors? Because if the government should come up and say, okay, fine, tuition is free, why then should the other sector, should the same sector come up and inflate their prices? Because we could see prices in Unilag and some other institutions that have increased their tuition fees.
Because they will be telling you that they want to go on research, they want it to become, they have a lot of ways of taking money from the students and the parents. But the fact still remains that the government should have about 25% of their budget towards education. It should be a kind of first priority. The priority of the government should be, let our people be educated. Whether you are a son of a farmer, whether you are a son of a teacher, whether you are a son of a lecturer, let our children, the Nigerians, be educated. So the levels of how you get it right is what we are looking for. We are looking for government policy that will tell the federal university, teacher institutions, for those children to be paying lesser money, not 300, 500,000 naira for who? Where do you think you are bringing out something that they can borrow money after? Is there any job outside there? Those who have been graduated for the past 5 years, have you created rooms for them to get a job? So if somebody is paying loans that is going to pay loans for the country to educate him, I don't get it. So if they are subsidizing education before now, and they are telling us that they want to remove them from, they want it to be paid for. People will find it hard to pay. Yes, people will find it. So what is the essence of government then? When government cannot take care of its people's, those are common things that the government can do.
Well then, you mentioned earlier on still that you said Nigeria as a country, we are blessed in Nigeria. So what do you think are the limitations that are stopping us from tapping into these resources that we have in our country presently? Like you said, in Ondo here we have bitumen, in other places we have different resources, but yet we are not tapping into these mineral resources as we should. What do you think is limiting us from doing so? It's
lack of focus. The leadership lack focus. I've seen the potential in political economics. The effect is all about politics. When it came to government, they just sit down there and think that is all. When you came into power and you saw the resources of your peoples, you start going out and see areas that you felt you want to develop. You cannot develop all the resources in Nigeria at a go, but you can tap one or two and say, okay, let me start with bitumen, let me start with crude oil. What is the best solution for the crude oil? Like we have crude oil. And how do we manage our crude oil? Do we need to go to China to go and refine our crude oil? The answer should be no. The answer should be no. Dangote should not come and open our eyes there as if we are in a banana republic. Yes, we are in a banana republic whereby people are well educated in Nigeria. People knows so the government should just take the lead and say, look, we want this crude oil to be refined here in Nigeria. Bring the experts. What is it that we need to do? I think that is the one thing that I want to say this. The IMF have not been sincere with Nigerians because they need to advise Nigerians leaders to borrow money and do their refinery and make sure it works.
You said something this last minute that the IMF have not been sincere with Nigeria. But I want to believe that there's one thing for you to ask for help, and the way you are going to utilize it, you might possibly not take heat from someone. Now, when the protest was on, some senators came out to address the TUC and the NLC, and they made some promises that in a week they are going to fix everything. They should just give them a week. Now, we are in a country that we are always feeding on promises, on a lot of promises, and we'll say, okay, we are hoping that things will get better. A week to fix everything. Do you see that being feasible or bringing any positive change to what is happening in Nigeria right now? Looking at the things that the NLC and the TUC are asking, do you think Nigerian government can give that now to ease the hardship on the general masses?
I think the first thing, Nigeria should wake up for self-consciousness. We should be able to ask questions, hold leaders accountable to their word. As a matter of fact, as from on forth, we should be able to, if a leader tells you one thing, go and write it down. Keep it. Ask of their manifesto, keep their manifesto. So you will ask them through their manifesto. So you say, the Senate have come up, the leadership of the Senate have come out to say we are going to fix this thing between 7 days. So the Labour leaders felt calm and felt okay. Let's give them the grace of 7 days. Those show accountability. Now 7 days is just next week, this week.
This week already.
Yes. So if by 7 days and the Senate will not be able to call the Labour leaders and ask them, look, these are our findings, this is what is on the tables, and we should be able to reach a compromise with what we have on the table. That means that they are not accountable to their word. So, and I don't want to believe that the Senate will not do that. Yes, the Senate, because they felt they know the reason why they would not want to take that, because they don't want these people to come back again. Like what FATIMAH just said, they don't want people to barricade their gate and come back and tell them you people are not sincere with us. So that we quickly address that. I want to believe so.
In as much as we believe that the TUC and the NLC are fighting for the general masses, there's this thing that most people feels like, okay, if the situation is not really touching those at the top, they don't really complain. Can we really say in this aspect they're really fighting for the general masses? Now, before this subsidy removal, people have been suffering. There have been a lot of situation of poverty, the economic has been crashing, a lot of things has been hitting us financial wise. Even our let's talk about our security. We have had issues in these sectors and everything has not been fine, but we've never seen protest. So should we say it's because it's hitting them directly they are coming out, or they are still fighting for the cause of the people?
The Labours have been crying all this while. People say Labours have not been. People say people. No. I don't want to believe that. Okay, in my state now, in those states, we have 2017 January salary have not been paid. Bonuses have not been paid. Leave bonus have not been paid. Wages of salaries are still there. Some states would. So Labours have been crying all this while.
That's 6 years.
Some have only 1 year, 6 months, 8 months salaries, arrears. So pensioners are not being paid. So Labours have so many burden on them. So if they are taking time for the government to settle all this bill in different states, and you came up again with a subsidy that will affect them more, so how do you think they will not react? They will react, and that's why you see those pockets of reactions everywhere.
Well, earlier you said something about asking the right questions. Would you say, because I know Nigerians, for one, Nigerians are asking questions. Nigerians are asking a lot of questions when it comes to the economy, what is going on. But the problem here, I think it should be from the leaders. If we are asking the questions and nobody is answering you, how do you think we are going to come to a solution?
There's always a means of asking the questions, and there's always
what better
ways of doing this is to. The first thing is that we have freedoms. That's why in our constitution, 1999 constitution, we have stipulated freedoms, freedom of association, freedom of press, freedom of speech. So these are areas that we ask questions. As a matter of fact, that is the hallmark of democracy. Before 1999, we have a military rule whereby all those freedoms are seized from us. These freedoms we are talking about are seized from associations. Freedom. We are seeing groups. We are seeing groups coming up. SERAB is coming up. Committee for Defense of Human Rights is coming up. These are groups that can ask questions, that have, because they are part of the societies. They are a group of societies. So they have access to ask questions, the government the question and act, and the government don't have any choice to. They took the government to court. You can see SERAB always drag the government to court if they refuse to act on a particular demand they ask for. So civil society groups are there, and those civil society groups, their job is to look into areas that the government is not working, the area that the right policies are not being given out, and drag the government to court.
Now the TUC and the NLC are really helping, if you must ask me. But don't you think what they're really asking for right now is, give us this so amount for minimum wage, give us this so amount for palliative? Are they really asking the right question? Are they really demanding for the right thing? Because I feel like what we are really hit right now with is an economic meltdown. We are not doing fine economically. Our security system is down. Our epileptic power supply has been constant for years. Are they asking the right things? Are they demanding the right things on your own part right now? Do you think they are asking the right things?
Labours, the leaders, they have this different approach towards galvanizing their areas of what do I use now? Galvanizing the areas they want to achieve their aims. Now, this present Labour Congress president, the leaders, the both leaders in TUC, the first approach towards this current administration is subsidy removals and the hardship. I think if the government have a robust relationship with these people, they will to tell him areas that he can cushion effects about the economic situation of Nigeria, better off than this. But because they don't have a synergy, what will I use? Because the laborers are always seen as how would I use the government always yes, they don't see them as a partner in progress. The moment they see laborers as partner in progress, the better for the country, because these are workforce. They are working for the nation, they are working for the economic of this nation. So you cannot just jettison them and say they are not part of you. So they are part of the system. So you should call them and ask them, look, this is what we have and this is how we intend to do it. Their own ideas will help in decision making. So if you are not taking them along with your decisions or policy making, it will always boomerang.
Let's take a quick look at how the protest played out, because we could see the protesters in Kano disrupted a lot of business activities. Then in Abuja, we saw that a lot of people were agitated with the fact that they pulled down the National Assembly gate just to get their voices heard. What's your general concept of how this protest played out?
Yeah, firstly, we have to thank God that there's no bloodshed. Absolutely. Nobody dies. We have a lot of protests before now. That people, we have casualties, some in areas in Lagos, sometimes in the north, Kaduna also. So, but we thank God that this one went successfully. I think we have to give it to the police. I think they have a lot of consultation before the labor move out. They have to call, they have to talk to the laborers, they have to talk to. So these are areas that we felt is okay. There's no how we have protests that all this will not come up. The first thing is that are we being informed that there's going to be strikes? Yes, we are being informed. Have there been noticed? Yes, there is notice. So if all these are being given out, they have to show their mind, they have to showcase their grievances, and you have to give them room to talk. That's why we say we need to freedom of association, freedom of press, let people talk and hear them out.
Okay.
You made mention of accountability and freedom, a lot of freedom. Now we are seriously out of time. But now, from the removal of subsidy to the stagnant minimum wage that has been plaguing Nigeria, especially the poor households, the government said earlier, before the president said, okay, he was going to get a restructure and see into it with the 8,000 naira proposed palliative for the 12 million poorest households. Now, most people believe that there are no data in place to be able to get these things distributed and a lot of things. We have a lot of things that we are clamoring for. Right now, I want to ask you, what state of economy do you think Nigeria is? And the state that we are, can we shoulder all these demands? That is one. Secondly, if we cannot shoulder it, or we must look elsewhere, what are the places that we need to look up to for Nigeria to be a dream come true for us in a way that we will see things fine?
Nigeria is a blessed country, and we have a lot of resources, we have a lot of potentials to make all these things come to reality. Well, areas that we need to work on is the government should get what we have here, develop, you said, produce, consume what we produce, and the country will be better off for it. I think that is just what we need here. We don't need to be exporting our crude oil, our raw materials. We need to be using them here and producing the finishing product outside the world.
Of course, we need fund, as I earlier said. For us to be able to start being a producing nation and not a consuming nation, we need fund to fix things, to put things in place. But if you will also agree with me that the present administration left everything mostly in debt, as claimed by the present administration. The previous one left a lot of debt that we need to be able to cover up for. And I want to believe that the present administration is trying, they are trying their best not to go into the same direction to fix this. Now, if we still want to spend money into infrastructure, we want to build our refineries, we want to be able to build industries which will provide more employment, more capacity for us to run our governance and make things work. The capacity right now is what I'm asking. Do you think we possess that?
Of course, we have the capacity now. Why not? We have the capacity of doing those things. If the previous administration have taken time to borrow trillions and billions of dollars and take, they have the capacity of returning those money back. The present government have the capacity of asking, how do we spend this money? How do we recover such money back to the economic back? That was the first one. The second one is make sure that those three refineries work. The Kaduna, the Port Harcourt refinery, all these three refineries should start working. If those are working, Nigerian will face less pain. Less pain. We will not get it right, but we face less pain. Then you can channel the rest money towards other areas of the economy and start working on other area, because that we have cushioned a little effect.
All right, thank you so much.
Really appreciate you coming to the studio and diving into your wealth of wisdom and how to analyze what is happening in our country, our society. Thank you very much for coming to the program.
Thank you.
All right, viewers, I believe you've heard it all and you followed the program. We have a lot of resources, we have a lot of beliefs that things are going to be fine. But right now, I believe the government, they are working something to give us a game changer that will bring everything to normalcy and we will be fine. But as Nigeria will be a great nation, as I always say, we'll be handing you over to our Lagos studio, which will give you more interesting package. From here, we'll be signing out. I remain Michael Obagiri.
I am Fatima Ibrahim. Bye.